Hi. I'm really excited to do this video. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I'm currently in Melbourne lockdown again, so I thought, good time. I've written some notes as well to share with you guys because this is a pretty big topic. Let me just crop. I feel like every time I talk about something serious, I end up, you guys can't see, but like crossing my legs on whatever seat I'm sitting on. So like when I'm in a meeting or something, I do that and I'm like, this looks really unprofessional. But I don't know, I feel more focused when I do it. So here we go. Today I am finally talking about my skin journey on full big scale to you guys. I really wanted to do a massive video for you guys and talk about everything I've learned around my skin journey, and around my skin and around my health and my mindset and how it's all interlinked and what my journey has kind of led me on. I'm gonna break this video up into different sections and do further videos leading on because I just feel like there is so much to cover that it's probably best that I do that in individual videos. So today I wanted to talk to you guys basically about an overview of it all. And a bit about my journey and some really good starting points of anyone who might be suffering their own skin breakout or acne issues themselves, some good starting places of where they can go to begin their journey. In short, I had always had amazing skin when I was in high school and when I was younger, and then I definitely took that for granted. Then I went on the contraceptive pill when I was about 17 because that's what you do and that's what you're told to do. And I was never really told that there could be side effects or long-term effects of going on the contraceptive pill. So I was on it for about 4 years, and when I came off it, my skin went crazy. I had full-blown acne all over my face. And it was obviously really shocking to me because I had never experienced that. And then also with my line of work being a model, kind of at the height of my career at that point, being on socials, really having that like the forefront of my life was extremely tough. But it wasn't just for me that it was tough. I've really learned that skin is such a huge journey and such a personal thing, and it's so literally in your face that you can't escape it. So anyone that has had their own skin journey knows how emotionally triggering and hard it is, how it affects your confidence, how it affects your mental state, your ability to want to go out, limitations with things, how you might feel dirty or embarrassed or shame, and then really just confused and lost a lot of the time because it can be such a complicated topic that it's really hard to know where to go and to what's right for you. And everyone's skin journey is so different and so personal, and it's hard to figure out what's going on. You know, for some people it might be easier, but for a lot of people it takes a lot of unraveling and a lot of work. So for me, it sent me on this huge journey where I delved into my whole body system. I delved into my mental state. I delved into like everything about my lifestyle that I could have been doing that could have caused this. Basically a whole overview of everything, and it's taken me on this huge journey, and I've learned so much. And you know what? That is one thing that I'm actually really grateful for now. And that I'll talk to you a little bit more about later in this video. But that was a pretty big driving factor of it. So the first decision I had to make when my skin started going crazy was natural versus pharmaceutical. Now you can do both, and I have kind of harmonized a little bit of the two, but for me it was really important to do this more naturally and to figure out what was going on internally for this to be happening. A lot of the time when you do use some of the antibiotics or drugs that can be prescribed for this kind of thing, you are just suppressing the problem, and there are very common effects that you will just get reoccurring breakouts later down the track. Some people have great experiences with something like doxycycline or Roaccutane, but I personally wanted to know what was going on inside my body, because if I knew my skin was that aggravated, then something wasn't right. There was definitely something that was out of balance, and so I was adamant to getting to that point. So with natural versus non-natural routes around skin journey, it's totally up to your preference. I think something like Roaccutane is prescribed quite liberally these days. Personally, I think that should be your like last resort, just because of how invasive it can be. And personally, I do look at the body like a system which basically has credits. You don't want to eat away those credits or do anything that might be destroying your body like when you're like 70. Obviously the body's an amazing thing and it can heal from all those things. So I really think that probably going through that with your dermatologist is the best way to do it. For me, I just, as I said, wanted to really figure out what was going on in my body, and it was extremely tough at times because it did take so long to kind of get through that and to work through that. And there was a point where I decided that I would give doxycycline a try, just because I knew from that point I could at least like rebuild my gut with probiotics, but just to see whether I could assist with maybe seeing if there was a bit of a bacterial infection with some of my breakouts. So I did a 2.5 month course of doxycycline, and it did pretty much like clear up the last little bits for maybe about 2 months, and then it started coming back. But at that point, like, it had already hit a certain kind of level of where it was. So I mean, I think doxycycline probably helped a bit, but I think there's still parts of my breakouts that were more linked to hormones and to my liver and to the foods and whatnot that I put in my system. So I just think that whichever path you want to take, totally fine, and I think it's really good for you to make that decision for yourself. But taking the natural route, it's a commitment, and it can be tough because doing things naturally is really slow. So I had to think about like, what had I been doing in my life that could have brought me to having skin like this. And it basically stemmed all the way back to before contraception, when I was starting to drink a lot when I was younger. Then when I started the contraceptive pill, you know, I was going out all the time. I probably wasn't looking after my diet that well. I was causing inflammation throughout my body. And because there was like years and years and years of this built up, and the pill suppressing my symptoms to this, I never knew. So that kind of meant that I would have to probably spend years and years and years and years kind of fighting back against all that and re-healing my body. So it was a commitment, and it was definitely really hard and challenging at times. But you can see today, I'm very happy with where my skin is at. I still get the occasional breakout, but overall, compared to what it was, this is amazing, and I'm really wrapped. And what I've learned about my body along the meantime is like, I probably would have never learned this stuff about myself if it wasn't for my skin, so that I am forever grateful. So I'll keep sharing more stuff around the more natural side, so that you guys can leverage off that. If there's any tips in there that are helpful to you, that you can do with whatever journey you've chosen. Let's see if I'm like game enough to show you guys some photos. I'll pop up a couple here, if they pop up. Maybe one here. As you can see, there was times when it was like really bad, and it would kind of fluctuate, and I was never able to figure out what was causing the fluctuation or whatnot. So I think the first thing that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned was, what is my body telling me and what is right for me? Because I went to every dermatologist and beautician, and you know, I had makeup artists at work and friends and everyone telling me what they thought I should do. And my skin ended up being so overwhelmed and so confused because I was trying to listen to everyone's ideas and experiences. And even a lot of dermatologists got it wrong for me because they went in really aggressively with peels and treatments and all this stuff every week or every fortnight, which was making my skin so sensitive and so confused. And then on top of that, I was using like 8 different serums and these really strong like cosmeceutical products. And for me, that just didn't work. So this is the other thing, like everyone's skin type is so different. So when you're treating it topically and externally, you've got to really play around a little bit to figure out what's sitting best with your skin. So for me personally, it was actually products with less ingredients, less amount of products, and more natural ingredients that ended up having the best effect on my skin. I found it was kind of helping my skin allow itself get back to its natural state, whereas a lot of the other stronger products, my skin became really reliant on these products. So if I wasn't using them, my skin would be like super dry or super oily. And if I was using them, it was kind of okay, but I really wanted my skin to just feel good on its own and get back to its natural like balance. So for me, I found a bit more like success with natural products or less products, but I'm going to talk about products in a separate video to this one, because that's a whole nother topic on itself. But the whole point of that is to really trust yourself. So because I was so vulnerable at that point, I was listening to everyone about their suggestions. And I think at the end of the day, when I really like tuned in with myself and what my body was asking from me and what my skin was trying to tell me, I kind of knew what products felt right, and I kind of knew what supplements or things didn't feel like they were right for me. So I just wish that I had trusted myself, because at the end of all of that, what I've learned and what I've ended up on is generally the stuff that I would have thought way back at the start anyway. So you probably want to figure out what type of acne you do have. There are so many different types of skin problems, and every one of them is so different. You can have multiple types. You can have one different type, whether it's literally like a bacteria infection, where in that case something like doxycycline might work to really kill it off, and then supporting with like a round of probiotics after that. Or is it something that's hormonal? Hormonal imbalances can be a little bit more complicated to work on. I'm still working through my hormone imbalances with a couple of naturopaths actually, and through dietary things and supplements as well. Or whether it's something else that you might have, like inflammation in the body, which is a big one. Certain areas of the face are related to different areas of the body and different organs. So where are your breakouts happening? Are they more cystic? Are they more pustule? Are they more like red and heated? So there are so many different things. So the best thing to do is first do a bit of research to try and figure out what type of acne that you have to start, and then also you can work with a dermatologist or beautician around that as well. So for me, there were a few really practical things that I did to start my healing journey. Firstly, a few different tests. So these are really good, so write these down or I'll put them in the comments below. The first one was B functional gut test. So that was a 3-day stool test. Yes, stool. So not that fun, but you have to conduct yourself at home and send away, but the response was so detailed. So I found out so much about my gut microbiome. I was actually missing a whole bacteria that's really crucial to us. I had none of it in my system, which isn't that common. And since I've started rebuilding with specific probiotics around that bacteria, I've actually noticed a significant improvement in my skin. So I think that was a really big factor for me. As well as telling me a bunch of other things that, for example, for me personally, my liver was really under strain. I wasn't processing fats properly, so I had elevated triglycerides, so that was causing other problems. So I really had to be very cautious about supporting my liver. Like that, so you can see that that's where it gets like so personal and so specific. There's also a hormone test you can do. I'm just going to check the name for you. The Dutch test. So this one I actually haven't done yet. I've just been kind of working off hormonal stuff that I've been documenting. That's another big one. If you can start documenting when your skin gets worse, what you're doing at that point in your life or in your week or in your month, what's kind of happening, because I didn't do that for a while, but the past like 6 to 12 months, the more that I've taken awareness of like where I am in my cycle, for example, or what I've been doing in my life, in terms of like going out, eating, stress levels, I actually have seen patterns. So that's another good one to do. So the Dutch test is a really thorough and good hormone test. It's a blood test that you send off. So that's going to give me, you have to do it at a certain point in your cycle if you're a woman. If you're a guy, I don't really know when you can do it or whatever. I think it doesn't really matter for you guys, because you guys have it much easier than us in that department. So that's a really specific one that you can then go over your doctor or naturopath with about what your hormones are doing and get on to rebalancing your hormones. And then the other test that I did ages ago was the pinner test. So that's just a simple blood test that you send off to the States, and it tells you a list of about 200 different foods out of them which your body struggles to digest. And it's pretty common for people to have around 5 different things, foods or liquids, that they are intolerant to. So it's more of an intolerant test, not so much a allergy test. And since I did that, I tell you what, so there were 5 foods it told me to cut out: peanuts, pork, barley, soy, and there was one other one that I forget. And since I've cut those foods out, I rarely get the same kind of bloating that I used to. I used to get really severe stomach cramps, and since I cut those foods out, never got them. I like haven't had them since. Like, I used to be rivaled up in pain sometimes coming home from dinner or something after eating something, and I wouldn't know why. So for me, like, that was really, really helpful. I have quite a lot of friends that have done it. Some didn't find it that useful at all. So again, really dependent on you. But for me, made a big difference. And obviously because those foods were irritating my gut, then that was in turn going to be aggravating my skin as well. So there are 3 tests which I would recommend. And yes, like, it can all add up a bit, but my gosh, it just takes so much of the guessing game out of it and just really expresses you on that skin healing journey. The next thing that is really, really important is mindset. So anyone who has suffered acne knows that it is honestly one of the like most personal and difficult challenges to go through. It really, really affects you on such a deep personal, emotional state, and it can be really, really isolating. But what I've really realized is it's such a common problem, and I love that people are speaking up about it so much more now around socials and are really normalizing it, because like acne products are one of the most like biggest categories of skincare products now globally. Well, more so in Western cultures. What's a really interesting fact is the kind of breakouts and acne that we have in like Western cultures actually isn't really the same in like other kind of cultures. So what I personally think is there's something fundamentally almost wrong that we're doing that's like a common Western thing, whether it's around contraceptive things that we're doing, or diet, or chemicals or pesticides that are in our food, or anything that's like disruptive to the body. There is something we're doing that is making this issue a lot worse, because skin problems have really, really escalated in the past like decade. So anyway, be cautious around that stuff, and as much as you can, like, go organic. If I buy fruit and veg from the supermarket now, which I don't love doing, but if I do it, and even if I buy from the market, I'll generally put them in water when I get home and some apple cider vinegar, because that helps to really strip out the chemicals and pesticides out of the food. And then also like environmental toxins that are coming in from different places. So I've been, you know, changing my laundry powders to be more organic, considering this is like on our skin every day, and our skin is our biggest organ. These are all hormone disruptors, these chemicals, to all different kinds of things. And then cleaning products around the house, I'm really trying to keep that all organic as much as I can. And just like really, really minimizing the stress on my body, because when your body is showing these breakouts and is inflamed and everything, like, you need to give it the best chance it can to like heal itself and get back to basics. And then going back to mindset, sorry I've gone a bit off track here, but mindset. So I think when one of the biggest like transformations for me happened, it actually happened when I stopped speaking to my skin with such hate. Because for so long I was just like I was so angry and upset about it, and I felt so lost about it. And I was working with one of my naturopaths who was helping me with a bit of like life coaching stuff as well. And he said, you know, your body, and this is so true, your body listens to you, and your body hears, it hears what you say to it. I mean, even if you look at those EMOTO, Japanese water study, EMOTO, EMOTO, I don't know how you say it. Anyway, that guy. If you Google that, maybe I can link that in the comments below as well. But if you Google that, you can actually see how water molecules change with different words that are said to it. So if you're speaking to water with words of love and kindness and joy and gratitude, it creates the most beautiful patterns in these water molecule cells. But if you're speaking into with really negative words, you can see that all the patterns, they go like all messed up and like weird looking and kind of like scary looking. So there's many different studies out there like this of what different like frequencies do to different things, but our body is no different. So if we're speaking to our body in a negative language, our body actually responds. It's like if you eat a food and say you eat like a pizza and you go in eating it being like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, this is gonna make me feel really bloated, this is gonna make me put on weight, blah, 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 blah. You're actually more likely, scientifically proven, to end up with like bloating or like irritation to that food, as opposed to if you speak to it with love, like, you know what, I deserve this pizza tonight, I'm really gonna enjoy it, that kind of thing. So I started meditating a lot around my skin, and I started changing my language around my skin, and I started thanking it. And then I started realizing like how much I had learned about myself and my skin and my body and my health since this journey. And all of a sudden I became so grateful for this experience and for this journey. And I would look in the mirror every morning, and even if I didn't feel it, and even if I was still feeling really sad and down about it, I would still look at it and go, thank you. Thank you for showing me what you have, and I love you, and I love you, skin, and I love you for what you've done for me and for what you're providing me. And speaking to it with love, and you know, it might sound crazy to some people, but it really changes your whole mindset. And if you can also take that stress out of your body and like start calming it, that's also going to help with the aggravation and the inflammation. So really working hard towards changing your mindset to it is, I think, a really, really key factor. And I think for me, after quite a few months of doing that, I reckon that was like part of like my skin journey and part of it really getting to that next stage of healing. But I think for now, that's all I want to cover. So as I said, I'm going to break this video up into different parts. There is so much around nutrition and the body that I've learned and that I'd love to share with you guys. So I'll do that in another video, and then as well another whole video around products. I can also do one on mindset and different practices you can do to assist, as well as like different meditation things. So yeah, there is so much about this thing, but love your body. They're so amazing. They do so much for us, and there are so many people out there who have experienced or are experiencing what you are. So reach out, and that's why it's so great to be able to have platforms like this to share. So make sure you subscribe and let me know what you think of this video. I want to hear your journey as well, and yeah, stay updated for the next videos and to hear from you, and we'll speak soon.